I have 3 children. I gave them a life most can only dream of. Private education, tutors, comfortable living, the best of everything. I worked long hours, made sacrifices, and ensured that my children would never experience the struggles I went through growing up. In return, I asked for respect and alignment with the plans I set for them. I wasn't unreasonable. I just knew what would lead to a good, secure life. 2 of my children understood that. They trusted me. They followed the paths I prepared for them. My eldest, my daughter, didn't. She was bright, always had opinions, always questioned everything. As a child, that was tolerable. But as she grew, she became defiant. She didn't want the career I envisioned. She didn't want the university I arranged for her, one I pulled strings to get her into. Instead, she applied somewhere else, far from home, without telling me. I also had a potential future in mind for her. Someone respectable, from a well-known family. It wasn't an arranged marriage or anything formal, just an understanding. A direction that would benefit her and everyone else. When I brought this up, she lost control, screamed at me, accused me of controlling her life, of not loving her. It was the final straw. I told her if she walked away from what I built, then she would walk away from everything. Her college fund, her inheritance, her place in this family. She called me controlling. I called her an embarrassment. She walked out and never came back. Since then, I've cut her off entirely. She was removed from all financial access and all estate planning, her inheritance from her grandparents. I had legal authority over it and ensured it would not go to someone who turned their back on the family. My wife didn't agree with my decision. A few relatives spoke up, but I reminded them that I'm the one who pays for their stability too. They quieted down. It's been 5 years. I don't know where she is. I haven't heard a word. She hasn't asked for help. She hasn't reached out to anyone. My other children are thriving. One is in med school. The other is on track to become a lawyer. They've honored what I built and continue the family legacy. Some people would say that I was harsh, that I lost a daughter, but the truth is, she made her choice. You can't give someone everything and be disrespected in return. I don't care what people think. I did what I had to do. Update 1. I had an unexpected talk with my parents' lawyer. Now I'm losing everything. It started a couple weeks ago when I got a call from someone I hadn't heard from in years. My parents' old lawyer. He asked if we could meet in person. Said it was about the family estate. I thought it was odd, but I agreed. I hadn't seen the man since shortly after my parents passed. When we met, we talked for a bit about old times. He was polite, cordial, even cracked a few smiles. Then he asked how my kids were doing. I told him truthfully, my 2 youngest are thriving, pursuing the careers I set them up for. Then he asked about my eldest, my daughter. I told him the truth too. I kicked her out 5 years ago for defying me. We haven't heard from her since. He grew quiet. His expression shifted. His eyes darkened. He asked me to clarify, and I repeated myself. Said she disrespected everything I worked for, rejected the path I laid out, and walked out. I reminded him I was within my rights to cut her off. Then he looked at me, really looked at me, and all I saw was disappointment. That's when he dropped it on me. I'm being removed as executor of my parents' estate. I was stunned, angry, demanded to know why. And then he said something that I never even thought twice about. I violated one of the clauses in the will. I should have checked in, should have remembered, because there was a clause in the trust that said, while I had authority over the estate until the children came of age, the trust funds allocated to them, specifically for their education and start in life, became theirs the moment they turned 18 and prepared to enter university. He asked me if my children knew about this clause. I didn't answer at first, but then admitted I never told them, because I didn't want them thinking they could just take and walk away. Days later, I got the official legal notice. I'm being removed as executor. Every asset tied to my parents, bank accounts, property, including this house, is being transferred back under estate control, pending a full audit of where the money went and how it was used. Turns out, I forgot something else too. The house we live in was never fully transferred to me. It was meant to be once the children finished school. Now I've hired my own legal representation, but the lawyer made it clear. The will is ironclad. Ironclad. And still I'm reeling. I've lost control. I'm under investigation for misuse of trust assets. The house might not even be ours anymore. All because my daughter refused to follow what I set out, and now her actions are unraveling everything. I blame her. I don't care what anyone says. She broke from the path, and now everything is falling apart. Update 2. My children found out the truth, and now the estate lawyers are demanding answers I can't give. Things just got even more complicated and serious. A few days ago, my parents' lawyers contacted my children directly. I always assumed they wouldn't interfere, but apparently part of the trust requires the beneficiaries to be notified when they come of age. Since I never told them anything, the lawyers did, in full detail. When my children came home, they were livid. They had paperwork, numbers, clauses. They asked why I never told them about the trust, why I withheld funds that were legally theirs. I told them they needed to trust me, that everything I did was for their future. But they didn't see it that way. They saw betrayal. I lost my temper. I told them they were being ungrateful, that they should show some respect after everything I provided for them. I reminded them I paid for their education, their lifestyle, everything they had. They said none of that gave me the right to steal what was never mine. Even my wife didn't say much this time. She only said again, maybe it was time to reach out to our daughter. I shut her down. I told her that girl is dead to me. She abandoned us. She spat in my face when all I did was try to secure her future. Then the audit came in. The lawyers began asking about several unauthorized withdrawals, ones that came specifically from my daughter's trust fund. I'd forgotten just how much I dipped into it over the years. Renovations, a high-end watch, my son's new car when he got into law school, a few personal upgrades. It all felt justified at the time. But apparently it wasn't. This time the usual lawyer didn't come alone. He brought someone else. Steve, younger guy, mid-30s but sharp as hell, polished, confident, no wasted words. He's from one of the most well-known legal firms in the state, the kind that handles high-profile estate disputes and major civil cases. His name carries weight, the kind of guy who knows judges, regulators, and CEOs on a first-name basis. Steve didn't come to talk. He came with a message: return the money or they escalate. But then he made me an offer. If I can locate my daughter and bring her in for a formal meeting, with them, not just me, they're willing to offer a compromise, possibly a restructured payment plan, maybe even a chance to avoid the courts entirely. But if I refuse or delay or lie again, then they'll pursue everything: legal action, asset recovery, and full control of the estate's management. I agreed, reluctantly. I still believe I was right. My daughter defied me, disrespected everything I built. But if finding her is the only way to keep this from spiraling further, then so be it. This isn't over, not by a long shot. Update 3. My relatives are starting to turn on me too, and what my cousin said won't leave my head. I thought reaching out to family would give me a sense of control again, maybe even a solution. After all, blood sticks together, right? I called a few relatives. Ones I knew had stayed in occasional contact with my wife or the kids. I told them what was happening, that the estate lawyers were digging into everything, that my role as executor was being challenged, and that they were demanding I find my daughter for a formal meeting. I expected a mix of confusion and support, but most of them already knew. Apparently, the estate lawyers had already reached out to several of them over the last couple weeks. Quiet calls, emails, questions about timelines, family events, my daughter's movements after she left, and how I'd been handling things over the years. I felt blindsided and betrayed. I assumed they would have told me, but no, they kept their distance. Some of them tried to be gentle. One aunt said, "It's a difficult situation. Maybe this is the universe telling you to find peace." Another said maybe it was time to heal old wounds. I could feel the judgment in their voices, even if they didn't say it directly. Then I spoke to my cousin, Daniel. We've had a rocky relationship over the years. He's the kind of father I always thought was too soft, too emotionally lenient. He lets his kids find themselves, whatever that means. I've always thought it was reckless, even irresponsible. We got into it pretty quickly. He told me flat out that I'd been too harsh, that I let my pride destroy my relationship with my daughter, that cutting her off completely was never parenting. It was punishment. I snapped. I told him at least my kids stayed in line. At least I had a plan for them. His were off chasing dreams and unstable careers. He didn't back down. You think your kids are in line, he said, but they're just scared of you. That's not respect, it's survival. That hit harder than I expected. I tried to keep control of the conversation, but I felt the eyes in the room. Other relatives listening, watching, quiet. A few of them nodded when he said it. One even mumbled, "He's got a point." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. These people, my own family, were siding with him? Daniel went further. He told me, as parents, we don't own our children. We guide them, we support them, but we don't live their lives for them. They're not our second chance. They're their own people. I left before I said something I couldn't take back. I came home, tense, exhausted. I told my wife what happened, still fuming. I expected her to be upset too, or at least sympathetic. But she just gave me that same tired look she's been giving me for weeks now. I asked her, no, demanded, what she wanted from me, what she really thought about all of this. She sighed, looked past me, and said quietly, "I'm going to bed." That was it. No fight, no argument. Just distance. And now, I can't stop thinking about what Daniel said. I tried to brush it off, but it's like an echo I can't silence. His son, Liam, isn't in law or medicine or business. He's learning coding, following some tech startup guy he admires. He's freelancing, working odd gigs, and building something of his own. His daughter, Sarah, is studying social sciences and wants to work in public policy or advocacy. They're not chasing money. They're chasing meaning. And Daniel, he's proud of them. He doesn't care about titles, about salary brackets, or how they reflect on the family name. And here I am, terrified of losing control, of losing the legacy I thought I was building, of being wrong. But maybe I already lost it. Maybe I lost it the day I told my daughter she was dead to me. And now the consequences aren't just legal, they're personal. My family, my wife, my kids, my relatives, they're slipping away. And I don't know what I'm supposed to do next. Update 4. I've started looking for my daughter, and now everything's falling apart. I never thought it would come to this, but I had no choice. The pressure from the estate lawyers hasn't let up. The audit is ongoing. Steve and the rest of their team are still circling, and I'm walking on a very thin line. I've been warned again that if I don't make progress on locating my daughter, they'll move to seize more assets. They're still holding back, but only because I told them I've started the search. And I have, but I'm flying blind. I don't know where she went after she left. I don't know what city she's in, what she's doing, or even what name she's using. She vanished completely after I kicked her out. No contact, no social media under her name, no mutual friends willing to talk. It's like she deliberately erased herself from our lives. I filed a missing person report as a formality. It's a long shot and frankly a bit humiliating. I also hired a private investigator. Discreet, not cheap, but thorough. I'm giving them every scrap of information I have. Old photos, previous schools, hobbies, anything that might help, but I feel like I'm chasing a ghost. I told the estate lawyer and Steve what I was doing, mostly to keep myself from facing immediate legal consequences. They acknowledged it, and then told me I could continue staying in the house for now. That phrasing, "stay in the house," infuriated me, like I'm some tenant. Like I'm lucky they haven't thrown me out yet. This is my parents' house, the home I raised my children in, and now I'm only allowed to stay? The humiliation stings deeper than I care to admit. Meanwhile, things at home are unraveling. My children have grown cold, distant. They barely speak to me anymore. When they call, it's to talk to their mother. I hear the laughter when she picks up, the silence when it's my turn. The unspoken blame hangs in the air every time they are around. Then it finally happened. My wife and I had a fight, our first real fight in years. Not raised voices, not disagreements. A fight, the kind where years of silence, resentment, and buried guilt finally surface all at once. I accused her of not supporting me, of standing by while everything I built crumbles. She fired back. She told me she's been watching this happen for years, that she wanted to speak up so many times but didn't, that she was scared, yes, but also guilty. Guilty for staying quiet when I kicked our daughter out. Guilty for letting me treat our children like investments instead of people. She said, "You don't listen. You never have. And now everything's burning and you're still holding the match." I told her to leave if she felt that way. She didn't hesitate. She packed what she could that night. Before she walked out, she looked at me one last time and said, "I'm going to find our daughter. I should have done it 5 years ago." And just like that, she was gone. I'm alone in a house I might lose, chased by lawyers, ignored by my children, left by my wife, and all because I thought I knew best. The worst part? I still don't know where my daughter is. Update 5. It's been months, and I've lost almost everything. It's been months since I started searching for my daughter. Months of silence, dead ends, and empty rooms. The house, once filled with life, arguments, laughter, whatever you want to call it, now feels like a museum no one visits. Cold, still, hollow. My wife officially filed for divorce 2 months ago. I didn't fight it. What would be the point? She didn't even ask for much. Just her own space, her own life, freedom. I imagine she's out there still looking for our daughter, probably doing a better job of it than I am. Or maybe she just doesn't want to be associated with me anymore. I wouldn't blame her either way. My kids? Gone too. They've completely cut off contact. They don't respond to my messages, don't answer calls. When I hear from them at all, it's through the estate lawyer. I found out, through someone else, that my son ended things with the girl I'd hoped he'd settle down with. A respected family, good reputation, everything lined up. I had that match in mind for years. Gone, just like that. And my youngest daughter? She changed her major, refused to tell anyone what she switched to. I confronted her, tried to pull rank, told her if she didn't respect the plan, I'd cut her off financially. She didn't even flinch. Just looked at me and said, "You don't have control anymore. You lost that when you tried to control all of us." And she's right. I don't. The estate lawyers froze my authority months ago. I can't touch a cent that doesn't belong to me. The house is still under review. I've had to pull money from my own dwindling accounts just to keep up appearances. And it's not just family. My friends have gone silent too. Those same colleagues and golf buddies who praised my discipline, my structure, my parenting, they've distanced themselves. No calls, no replies. Just polite silence. As for the search, it's still going. The private investigator is digging deeper now, but even he's sounding less hopeful. The missing person report hasn't turned up anything useful. No bank activity, no employment records under her name. She vanished completely. She meant to. I even made a public post online, something I never thought I'd do. Posted a photo, asked for help, said I was looking for someone dear to me. I couldn't bring myself to admit who or why. I just wanted a sign. But there's been nothing. And lately I've been thinking a lot about what my cousin said during that argument. The one I was so sure I won. About how parenting isn't about control, it's about support. That respect comes from presence, not power. Back then, I dismissed it, saw it as weakness. But now I sit in silence or in a house I may not own much longer, with no one left who cares to ask how I'm doing. Maybe I didn't lose control. Maybe I never had it to begin with. Update 6. They found her, and it was too late. I got the call 2 weeks ago. It was the police. They, along with the private investigator I'd hired, had found someone matching my daughter's description, someone from a cold case file. She had been dead for 5 years, days after he kicked her out. They found her body off a back road, hours away from here, near a stretch of highway most people don't even use anymore. Remote, forgotten. She had no identification, no personal belongings. She wasn't wearing any clothes. What they did to her was unspeakable. The details were so horrific that even the officers couldn't bring themselves to say it plainly. They told me she was buried in an unmarked grave not long after her remains were discovered. For years, she was just a number in a file. No name, no story. Just another Jane Doe left to disappear quietly because no one came looking. Not fast enough. I vaguely remember seeing the case in the news back then. A blurred photo, a sketch, a small segment, one of those things you see and then forget. I didn't recognize her. They asked for my DNA for confirmation. I gave it, numb. The investigator was silent, didn't have the words. Weeks later, the results came back. It was her, my daughter. I told my wife. She collapsed. I had never heard that kind of sound from her before, not even the night she walked out. It was heartbreak and rage and guilt all wrapped into one terrible scream. I had to sit her down because her knees gave out. My children found out shortly after. They haven't spoken to me since. One of them sent a single message. She died alone because of you. The family is in shock. Even the relatives who kept their distance are now circling, some out of pity, others because they don't know what to say. My cousin, I haven't heard from him yet, but I know what he'd say. He warned me. They all did. I saw her photo, the one the police used in their records. She was unrecognizable, hollowed out, lifeless. I made it halfway through the report before I ran to the bathroom and vomited. My body reacted before my mind could even make sense of it. She'd been in the ground all this time, buried beneath a slab with no name, just a number etched into a rusted plate. And I didn't even know she was gone. I spent years angry, stubborn, certain she was just being defiant, that she'd come crawling back someday when she saw I was right. But she never did, and now she never will. They still haven't found who did it. No leads, no suspects. Just a small, forgotten crossroad where my daughter's life ended before it ever really began. She left this world with nothing. No dignity, no safety, no family. Just silence. And I will carry that silence with me for the rest of my life. Final update. I don't even know why I'm writing this anymore. I guess I thought putting it down would help me understand. Or maybe I just want someone, anyone, to see it, to know what I did, what I lost. I have nothing left. Nothing. My arrogance, my pride, my need to be in control of everything, killed my daughter. I didn't put my hands on her. I didn't hurt her physically. But I turned my back on her when she needed protection the most. I threw her out and shut the door behind her. I erased her from my life and convinced myself she deserved it. She was my world once. I remember the day she was born, how tiny she was in my arms, delicate, fragile, her fingers barely wrapped around my thumb. We were so happy. I remember her little voice calling for me during storms, how she'd cry and bury herself into my chest, scared of the thunder. And I'd hold her, promise her nothing would hurt her as long as I was there. She believed me. I was her protector, her hero. When did that change? When did I stop being the one who shielded her from the storm and become the storm itself? The funeral was small, quiet. Her mother organized it. I was there, but I don't think anyone wanted me to be. I felt the whispers behind me, the glares, the judgment, but none of it compared to what I already knew. My wife didn't speak to me. She didn't have to. Her eyes said it all. This is your fault. I couldn't sit with them. I didn't deserve to. I stood in the back, alone. After that, I moved out of the family home. I didn't fight the lawyers. I didn't argue about the estate. I didn't answer when Steve called again. I just showed up to the final meeting, signed what I needed to sign, and walked out. Before I left, Steve pulled me aside. He looked different that day, tired, like this had worn on him too. I didn't want this, he said. None of us did. We just wanted her to be alive. Then he paused and said something I can't forget. You may not face charges, but knowing you're the reason she died, that's your punishment. And he's right. The police cleared me after their final questioning, said there was no evidence I knew what happened, no foul play on my end. But that doesn't matter. I was responsible. Not in court, not on paper, but in the silence I created when I sent her away. And now, it's all gone. My wife lives separately. She won't return my calls. My children changed their last name to their mother's. They erased mine, just like she did when she disappeared. And I'm sitting in a small rented apartment, surrounded by nothing but memories I don't deserve to have, wondering what I'm even doing anymore, what I'm writing this for. Maybe this is the confession I never gave. Maybe it's just noise. But if someone's reading this, please don't be me. Don't let pride come before your child's safety. Don't turn your home into a courtroom. Don't mistake control for love. Because one day you'll realize too late that the thunder you thought you were protecting them from was you.
What would you do in this situation? Let us know in the comments. If this story had you on the edge of your seat, smash that like button and subscribe for more jaw-dropping family drama, shocking betrayals, and the revenge stories you won't believe.